Welcome back to Module 5 of Microsoft Virtual Academy Advanced Windows Store App Development with C# and XAML refresh for Windows 8.1. That's exam 70485. Module 5, we're going to be talking about camera and media and more. That's right, Darren. We'll be talking about the new Facebook SDK that was released yesterday.
Yep.
And just show a basic implementation and how cool that is for Windows 8 apps. Right now, let's talk about the store using devices. So before we even talk about the API to using photo or using your camera, we were talking yesterday about there's this sandbox. Then we talked about it as a pit of despair
Yes.
that store apps are in, and because you can't reach out and use anything you want, any device, any capability on the device without first asking for it.
Yep.
Certainly, your webcam is a capability that you're going to need to request permission for first.
And somewhat strangely, it's also tied to your microphone.
Even if you take a still picture.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That you actually need both capabilities.
It is. I agree. It's weird. It's weird.
And of course, they're not linked in a totally unlogical fashion.
So you'll say yes to webcam, and then you'll run it, and nothing will work.
Indeed.
And then it turns out you have to click microphone. That's actually a good gotcha that certainly has hit me more than once.
Indeed.
All right. When it comes to photo capture, let's take just a moment and talk about photo capture.
Okay.
All right.
Photo capture?
That's what we call a transition. We do
a
it
segue
two
even.
different ways. So let's start with talking about the camera UI.
Yes. So the camera
Capture UI.
that thing, as the name suggests, actually provides you a user interface that you can leverage. You know, full screen view, the ability to select options, and so on and so forth. That saves you from having to spend the time and effort to actually create that user interface. Now, in order to leverage it, we have to capture a number of events and implement some methods and so on and so forth.
Let me show I'll show the camera. This is what it looks like. No, that's not the one. CMURA, camera. There, everybody has the camera installed. And just like, here we are, I just want to show. It asks for permission to use it, so I'll say go ahead and allow. And now it's not just a camera, but it has all the functionality that you were talking about.
Exactly.
As well as the ability to change things.
And that is available for us to use within the context of our applications.
Exactly. All right. Perfect. So that's the camera capture UI. Honestly, it's the fastest, easiest way to use the camera in an app.
Exactly. If
You
all
don't
you
have
want
to
to do
build
is
anything.
grab a file, grab a image and save it out to a file, that's the way to go.
Yep.
The alternative that we have is to actually use the media capture event. And we can implement that in a very different way. So let's move to the next slide and we can actually see some of the code.
All right.
So on this particular slide, we can see that it's very, very simple to use the capture element. That we throw that in there, we initialize it, and we start the preview.
So earlier we said it's really easy to use the camera UI. We'll show the syntax for that.
Yep.
That is true, but it doesn't mean it's complicated to use the capture element. The capture element, you would use that if you aren't satisfied or somehow it doesn't meet the use case for your application.
Absolutely. If we move on to the next slide, we can see, again, demonstrating using the camera capture UI. Why is that so different?
Because it's a alliteration, consternation, I think.
Indeed. But what's great about this is all we have to specify is we're going to capture a file, and it's going to return us back that capability, and then we just move that file to wherever we want to store it, be that a local folder, be that to pictures or whatever.
The biggest difference between the two implementations, here's the camera or the capture element. It has XAML. Here is the capture UI. It does not have XAML. That's because it's all provided to you by the system.
Within it. So let's actually show this within the context of an application. So
Okay.
if we switch over to my desktop, what we have here is a camera capture demo. So let me set that as our startup project, because I haven't changed the other setting. Let's just run it and see what it looks like.
All right.
So we've got a very simple UI that, again, hours was spent designing. We have a placeholder image, which is where the photo would be.
Okay.
It was quite hard to do the makeup to make myself look like that, but it was worthwhile.
This is going to be for the built-in capture UI that we're going to show off.
Exactly.
Here.
So if I hit capture photo, we're going to ask whether we're allowed to use this.
Two quick things about that. It asks when you're to use it, at the time of accessing the camera?
Yes.
The first time.
The first time. So it doesn't ask to use it when you're actually
Installing.
Well, I guess I should look at here since it's what we're projecting. It doesn't ask when you install it, only when you try and use the device. And again, if you haven't requested the capability, then that's never going to happen.
If you have requested the capability and you never use the camera, it will never prompt the user.
Indeed.
That's pretty cool, actually.
So we're in here, and we can see that we actually have a fully blown UI. We can see that we can change camera. If this device actually had multiple cameras, which it does, I can swap around.
Go ahead. I'll put this little guy right here.
So if I swap around, now we see that the Channel 9 guy is nodding around and actually has quite a lot to say.
Okay.
Now, of course, we're probably playing havoc with the
like, what are you doing
with
to
the projection system. I apologize for that, guys.
Cut away, cut away, commercial break.
I guess we should have probably demoed that one before we had the video engineers come over and hit us. Let us know when you can see my screen again.
If you can see my screen again.
Okay, we'll move on. The other great thing that we can do whilst we're in this context is we can bring up the camera options, which allow us to change pixel DPI, resolution, video stabilization. We apparently really screwed something up there with the video feed, which is very unfortunate.
You want me to reseat the yeah. He said yes.
Oh, we're good.
No, he said yes, excellent. You did it in one go. Here, switch to the back.
Yeah. Okay, so we're back, we're live, we've recovered. So as I was saying, we can also bring up, as part of this UI, the camera options. Now, right now, we have the ability to change the resolution, which we won't do because I imagine that would have adverse effects.
Here we go again.
We can also turn on or off video stabilization, so there's some processing going on there. We have the ability to expand out and do more settings such as brightness.
If I were to show this on my machine, it might actually be slightly different because those options sniff out the capabilities of my device or your device and give the options that are appropriate for it. So you see this, I see this, but because you're using the camera capture UI, you don't even have to think about it. It's all done for you, and it's a really rich and robust experience.
Absolutely, and we have the capabilities such as a timer if we want to delay the capture so we can run around and pose or whatever we're going to do. We could switch to video mode if, when I'd actually said display the UI, to support photo or video, but I constrained it to support just...
so that's grayed out because
that's why that's grayed
didn't
out.
give permission for it.
So now, I mean, we can take an image. I can just tap the screen. Here we have a wonderful capture of me in motion.
That is really amazing.
It's just awesome.
I love the fact you're cropping it so close.
Exactly.
All right.
So
nice.
Here we have preserved for posterity, me in mid-waffle.
Nice.
And so, again, what we've got within the UI is we've detected that we now have an image. I could reset this image, or I could just exit the application.
This is not in memory, by the way. This, as soon as you take the picture, it puts it into a file that you provided or a location that you provided.
I actually provide a file name and a location.
Okay.
What I also happen to do is I save the fact that I have this in the app settings.
Just to have a little extra feature.
A little extra feature. So if I rerun the application and bring it back up, there I am, preserved forever.
Hell, haven't lost. That's great. Now, can we upload this to for resources for students to have?
We absolutely could, but we probably won't. Unless everyone's got hardened monitors.
Hardened.
So we can reset that, and that is now gone. Okay, so let's see actually how we implemented that.
All right.
So within the context of the application, we have our main page. And as we mentioned, because the camera capture UI provides us with the look and feel, we actually have no XAML in here for this.
Does it all for you?
All I have is...
It's a good practice, by the way. If you don't have a reason not to use it, it is a consistent experience for the user. They don't.
Users will generally understand how to use it. I have a very simple UI that gives me my button interfaces. I have a very simple UI that lays out my captured image. If I look at the code behind, what we can see in here, let's give myself a little bit more real estate.
Yeah.
So what we can see in here is that I implement some methods to, when the page is loaded, to actually start checking to see if any files exist. You also see that I'm setting the reset button to visibility equals collapsed, as its standard startup state. I could do that in the XAML. We could do that if we had a view model. We'd bind and so on and so forth.
I also see that you're using application data settings, which is a cross-session setting that is for this device only, but it's specific to you. So a place you could put something, the user could log off, log back on, and all of those are still persisted.
Exactly, and the reason for using that is that the file is saved locally to this device. And so if I put the fact that I'd saved the file in roaming settings, I could bring it up on another device and it said, hey, you've got the image, but it wouldn't be present because it's been saved in a local store.
Very good.
Obviously, I could address that by saving to SkyDrive or something else. So on the page loaded, I check to see if my photo key exists. I've saved a photo. If I have, then I try and get the value, then I try and load the file in. If I can do that successfully, then I reload my photo and I enable my capture button, or disable, I should say, my capture button and enable my reset.
Makes sense. And here's the take picture motion.
Here's the take picture motion. So if I hit capture, then I basically create an instance of my camera capture UI. I set up some assumptions around what I want my photo to display.
Oh, that's nice. So if I needed a square picture for a profile or something like that.
Exactly. I can set those expectations. I can turn around and say, okay, this is my camera capture UI. I'm going to wait until such times as that responds. It's going to respond with a storage file. If I chose one, if I hit cancel, the X button in the UI, then I actually won't get an image back.
Comes back as null.
Exactly. So I check to see, okay, is the file not, if the file is not equal to null, then I have a file. Then effectively, I'm going to read in the image, and I create a bitmap image source so I can actually bind it to the image view.
Yeah.
So I can actually see it within my UI. I also mark in my app settings the fact that this is the file path I've saved it to, and I enable my reset button so that I can get rid of the horrible image if I've made a gruesome mistake.
So there's 80% of this code really isn't the picture, it's just its extra functionality around it.
Yep.
Taking a picture really is as simple as what we were showing on the slide, just a click, click, and you're done.
Click, click, and we're done. You know, we just wanted to add some more capability just to make sense.
You know what, I'm really curious. If you were running this application on a snap or shared with shared real estate, does it take the full screen or does it fit into the smaller area?
Because we were leveraging the UI, it should follow the rules.
Which is the full screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect, perfect.
So that is an example of using the camera capture UI, and as we pointed out, it's very simple and straightforward. Now let's have a look at the using the media capture. Now the advantage of using this approach to capturing an image is it gives you control over the presentation. So it's very important to you that you control the look and feel, the brand of what's going on. Then this gives you these options.
This is good.
So if we run this up, we can see that we had a guest designer participate in this. And that guest designer would be Jerry. Thank you very much, Jerry.
Right.
Good job. Awesome.
That's right. It's authentically digital is what it is.
Exactly. So, this is not how you build Metro applications. I said Metro. I, of course, meant modern apps.
Yes. That's right. What's nice, though, and it just makes the point, is this element allows you to have the UI look the way you want.
Yes.
It doesn't drop to be full screen or anything like that. You're in full control. And it also means you're required to build everything out. If you wanted to build a cropping tool or anything like that, you have to do it all by hand.
You have to do it. So, and we also have much more fine-grained control of the actual camera itself. So we initialize the camera.
All right. So that's the prompt to whether or not you can use it, because the camera is now turning on.
So we're going to say allow. We then, the camera is initialized, but we haven't actually started pulling a live preview stream from the device. So we start that, and sure enough, there in the camera appears our preview.
Ah, yeah.
Kind of uncanny. It looks almost well designed. And now we can just
I like how you say almost well designed.
So now we can capture images and place them into our frame.
This is the best ever.
It's absolutely perfect.
So the frame, by the way, just an image tag.
Just an image. We happen to have another image wrapped around it, so on and so forth. We can switch off the preview.
Like so.
Like so. And so now we're no longer pulling information from the camera. We can switch it back on anytime we want, and so on and so forth. Yep. So this gives us a lot of flexibility and control. And that image is just going to scar me for life, I'm sure. So now, let's go back and have a look and see exactly how that's implemented. So if we open up the the media capture demo, we can look at the main page. So again, we've got this wonderful full fidelity preview that we have within the design. We can see that we have the buttons, the controls, and so on. So let's look at initialize camera. We can see that these are just buttons that fire events in our code behind. If we look here,
typically you would run these in sequence without, you wouldn't initialize, and then you would just go bam, bam,
yeah, we're
bam.
just trying to show the real granular impact of the controls, but you could, as you say, you can definitely code those so that you initialize the camera and start the capture preview all in one instance. Here we have the capture element. So this is a special control that we can pump the preview to. And so this is what shows you the live view of your camera. Yeah. So if you were doing a chat-based application, then this is pretty much what you would use for that chat.
Yeah, it's perfect actually. Interestingly enough, you could copy that and have two previews at the same time. You could? Yes.
Yep.
We're agreeing.
Indeed, violently. So now let's look at the code behind. In the init camera, I'm also showing a little bit of a demonstration of how we can actually programmatically go out and actually review capabilities of the camera.
Zoom in just a little. That's pretty cool. Capabilities of the camera and capabilities of manipulation of the resulting image. There are a lot new capabilities in Windows 8.1.
There are a lot of new capabilities, and what you'll find is probably the present generation of devices don't necessarily support them all. So you have this supported property on a lot of these extensions, and that will return back a Boolean value. You need to check that before you try and explore any of the sub-values, because you'll get not supported.
It's nothing. That's what's funny.
You could get the not supported exceptions if you try and interact with those values without actually, if they don't exist.
Good. It's sort of like browser capability sniffing, things like that. That's nice to make sure you don't fail first. That's a good example right there. Focus control. Most webcams have a fixed infinite focus right now.
Yes.
But I guess maybe this is a little bit of a hint of the forward direction of devices.
Yeah, I mean, there could be some sort of consolidation where camera quality lenses are perhaps integrated into this platform.
Wow. Yeah, wouldn't you love to have one of those cool Nokia lenses sitting right on your Surface? Yeah. Oh, man, that'd be awesome.
Wouldn't it just? So, this is how
we said that maybe sounding knowing. That's not the way it meant to come out. Sorry. You know what I mean?
I do. So, and this is just a simple way of how we can iterate through, and we can see that we have all of these additional features that if we did support regions, so this is the ability, say on your Nokia phone, you can touch a specific area of the viewport and say, I want to focus on that particular area. So this is how we could detect whether that capability was supported by this camera, which unfortunately it is not. So anyway, this is the only piece of code that we actually need to run in this particular block, which initializes the camera.
Got it.
Once our camera is initialized, we're able to start capture. So we have an await here. These are asynchronous. So if we wanted to put these in the same method, then we could just put them one after each other on the await, so that they would actually be run in succession. We can stop the preview. Again, very, very simple and straightforward to actually interact with. And if we actually wish to take the image, then again, we just state the format that we wish the image to be generated in.
Nice, so you get your PNG.
We turn around and create a reference to a file. So we basically say capture PNG, and we're using storage file to interact with the system, as that's the only option we have within Windows RT. We are just making sure that if we already have one, we're going to generate a unique name, which is a nice feature.
That is pretty cool. So it goes ahead and sniffs to see whether or not that name exists. Puts a 1 or 2 at the end with a little parenthesis.
And then effectively all we do is Capture Manager, capture a photo to storage file, and we have a couple of other options available to us. We specify the format we want and the file path. Now let's have a look and see what other options are there.
Yeah.
So we capture to stream or capture to storage file. And so stream would be useful if you wanted to do some form of manipulation, do your own formatting, perhaps serialize it out, send it somewhere else. Then basically we do very much a similar thing to what we did with the Capture UI. We're going to create a new bitmap image and we're going to bind it to our preview so that we can actually display the file as well as save it to the file system.
Very nice.
So again, very, very simple, very, very straightforward.
Don't you wish you could pass a string into the source of an image?
Yes.
I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if there was some form of default conversion that just allowed us to not have to do that every time.
Or they give us a .set source. I mean, come on, overload it so it takes a freaking URI.
I know.
Sorry, that's not what we should be talking about. But it's pretty funny.
It is pretty funny.
So again, a good portion of this code is just to kind of show off other things you could do around the way.
Yeah.
Still just a handful of lines to use the Capture UI or to use this Capture Manager as well, right? Or this Capture element that leverages the Capture Manager.
Yeah.
Either way is simple, and it kind of meets your needs both ways. So you don't need to build your own UI because unless you just like working. So you can use the Capture UI and get really a lot of functionality for free. Yeah,
and like a lot of this sort of contracts and sort of device implementations, some of the things that you think would be very difficult actually turn out to be really, really simple and straightforward. I mean, going out and connecting to a device, capturing that image and manipulating it, conceptually you think there's a lot of steps that are going to go on here. But awesome job.
There's got to be a contrast to that too.
There is, unfortunately, a contrast.
Way too complimentary sounding.
Exactly, and we'll see that in some of the more advanced contracts that we need to implement, such as printing and plating.
Not every contract is just a drop kick.
Indeed.
All right. For the last part of this module, this is a short module.
It is.
For the last part of this module, we want to talk about the profile picture. Of course, we can get a profile picture a lot of different ways. This one, we're getting the profile picture from Facebook. The Facebook SDK, officially supported Facebook SDK, I think is the right way to say it, was released yesterday for Windows 8 apps, and we're going to show it off just a little bit.
Yeah, rude not to.
Wouldn't it, though? The SDK itself is available both for the Windows Phone and for Windows proper. And so you can log in and use that OAuth credential to do all kinds of things, including, and probably most interesting at first, leveraging the metadata that Facebook provides back for a user. So it doesn't mean that you can do it secretly behind the scenes without the user still approving it. None of that has changed. It's just now very simplified the way you do it. 2 new controls have been introduced. The first one here is the Facebook login button. Takes a lot of the logic that you probably could have written yourself, wraps it up into a single button, and makes it work. Now, in order to use the button, or basically in order to use the Facebook APIs inside your application, you have to first register as a Facebook developer, dev.facebook.com. Go in and first you just register as a developer, then you create an application very similar to what we were talking with PubCenter, where you go in and create an application you can reference back. So I add the login button like this to my application. It asks for the application ID. That's the permission that it'll get back.
Is that a real ID?
This is the imperial password. And no, not a real. You're welcome to try it. And this will make it work so that Facebook will basically grant permission. The reason they would do this, and the reason you would do this too, if you were Facebook, is if it was starting to be abused, you could turn off a single application versus turning off the entire OAuth system, which that would potentially bring down the entire internet.
I think so. Yeah.
Who isn't using Facebook for authentication? Authentication, by the way, through WAMS is still there. This is just one directly as the Facebook SDK, right?
Yep.
WAMS being the Windows Azure Mobile Services. Second control that you get right out of the gate is the profile picture. That's the one we're going to show now. Encapsulates the logic that you might otherwise use to go pull the profile, get the picture, download the picture, show the picture in an image box. So this will handle that for you.
One of the things that's actually really interesting in terms of the announcement that was made around this was that more and more applications, as you've mentioned, across all of the ecosystems are leveraging Facebook as a single source of identity management.
Yeah.
And one of the stats that was mentioned during the launch was that applications that typically use Facebook for authentication get a 70% adoption rate.
Wow.
That's pretty significant. So
Is that just because everybody has Facebook?
exactly, it lowers the impedance. Everybody's logging into Facebook all of the damn time.
Yep.
And so if you put that into your application, then you really invite users. You don't put any barriers up. They don't have to create new user accounts or worry about passwords or anything along those lines. So I really do think this is a significant contribution to the ecosystem.
Yep. Being able to authenticate a user is crucial. Not storing all that authentication information in your own system that's just the way everything is meant to be. If you're storing username, if you're storing password, then just know you're an outlier right now. You better have a reason for it. You better be a bank.
I mean, there's enough horror stories out there of the big players being hacked.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, Adobe just got cracked and so on.
Yeah.
So leverage these organizations that have the money to invest in creating truly robust, secure implementations for credentials and so on and so forth, and don't take the risk yourself.
And we'll just go ahead and pull this module off the air once Facebook's hacked. Right now, it's
Exactly.
like we're currently like daring the developers. Okay, so let's see kind of how we might be able to use these. And when you do, it prompts the user just like this. It's asking you to log in, asking for permission to use the application as well.
You realize right now the video engineers are trying to sort out the pillaring?
Yeah, this is it's a funny thing. It's just the way it is. You can see this is a 4 by. This is not a 16 by 9.
4x3, is that what you're
This
trying
is
to
a
say?
1 by 2 application. You can see the login button behind. We'll show that off in just a second. Nonetheless, you can't get past this. This is the web authentication broker inside Windows 8. It's going to launch no matter what. So it's not bypassing credentials, just makes it easier to use. Let me walk you through some of the basics of it. It looks a lot like those slides. It's impressively easy to use.
Which, in an SDK,
Yes,
is nice.
and unusual.
Indeed.
Yeah, kudos to whoever was involved there. So I'll go down to, we have a profile picture. Now, in order to use this, it's not right out of the gate. It's not a class I include. This is a NuGet package that I went and got. So I can right-click references right here and say Manage NuGet Packages. The manager shows up, and I have to drop this little drop-down right here, partly because it's so fresh.
Yes.
Right? I have to say, please include pre-releases. And over here, I would search for, it was facebook.client.
Correct.
Facebook.client. Don't hit enter there. You don't have to. It does it for you. And you can see I've got this green little checkbox that indicates I've already got installed. If I didn't, I could select it. Just like the one right below, I could select it and go install. So I don't need the one below it. The one right here is already installed and ready to go. You know it's the right one because Outer Curve Foundation is the publisher.
Yeah, and basically that's a partnership between Outer Curve, Microsoft, and Facebook.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Let me go ahead and close this. If I open up references, you can see Facebook.client is right there. It has a dependency on a core Facebook library that the same publisher puts out as well.
Wonderful thing about NuGet is it sorts that out for you.
That's right. As soon as I go get Facebook.client, it gets all of the dependencies that it has as well. There's nothing in this app at all. I'll open up main page. And you can see, there we go, good, I'm already zoomed out. I have the two controls sitting out here. I have first the login, logout control, which is pretty nifty. Here's my profile picture that'll come along. And then I also have one little piece over here on the left that's kind of out of sight. It's not a control at all. I mean, it is a control, but it's not a Facebook control. It's just a text box to say welcome, and it's just showing how I could pull my name out as well. So there's a lot of that metadata for the user that you have access to.
You spent moments on this UI design as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Hey, this was released yesterday, right? When was C++ released? All right. The controls are sitting just like you would expect. Here's the Facebook profile picture. Remember, this is just a wrapper of the logic to go get it. This doesn't have to do with authentication. So as a result, all I have to set is profile ID, which all I do is bind then to the current session property of the login control. And so here you can see it's an element binding directly to the login button, which is right here. So the login button is where the logic really is. It's obviously it's called login button. Here's where I would pass in that application ID. In this case, this is my application ID. Hopefully everybody's copying that down right now. And you just press it and all the logic is inside it. But it has an event called Session State Change. Let me go ahead.
So it's safe to say that you're going to be disabling that application immediately hereafter?
Of course I'll remember. This is great. This is great. Yeah. Yeah, so here's what happens. So session state is whether or not you're logged in or logged out. And as soon as you are logged in this case, I'm just changing the visibility of that welcome text box, and really that's it. Just a little bit extra functionality to show it and have a little bit of something to demonstrate, really, right? Okay, it sniffs it out and knows that I'm not logged in. It would remember from session to session that I'm already logged in if I was. This is the default profile pic, so it's nothing because I'm not logged in. I'll go ahead and try to log in, and the web authentication broker will pop up and ask me to log in. I'll say yes, and it will not work for me. Let me put in my, that's my cell phone number, so hopefully everybody's writing that down as well.
You thought this one through.
It's asking me whether or not I registered this app as a game when I went in to register my application in dev.facebook.com. You could pick whatever it is that you wanted. So in this case, it just is friendly. It says go ahead and play game, and instead of run app. I've already logged in. It's asking basically for my permissions. You can see that it's telling me all the things that it can do. In this case, over here, only asking for basic information. What's cool about this is, as a Facebook user, I can click Play Game, which is basically giving credential to it, and it will go ahead and work the way you would expect. But I can go into Facebook and disable it later. You know, and earlier we were looking at how to do that, and I was surprised to find that my application, that I had 80-some applications that I had already given permission to, and it kind of goes back to your casual comment before that the reason I had so many. I had so many is because it's so easy and so popular, and people just love using Facebook as a way of authentication. So now I've authenticated the user. It's up to me now to take, say, like my email or some one of the contact metadata that I would put in my own database then to say, now, Darren, you just logged in. I'm going to take that code. Every time you log in, I go and get the actual settings, preferences, or user information specific to you. I no longer have to worry about how you log in, what your password is, whether or not you have second or third types of authentication. All that's handled by Facebook for me. Then I do the association back into my own records. Pretty nice.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Very simple,
there it is. Welcome, Mr. Nixon. There's my Facebook photo, and then if I wanted to, I could click log out, and as soon as I do, it throws away the token and takes me back to scratch.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really neat. It really is neat.
No excuse not to do it.
There's no if I can do it that fast, surely
you can use Jerry's telephone number and his application to do it in yours.
You have to get a dev account. You can use mine. Yeah. All right. So let's just look back at the module for a second.
Yeah.
You demonstrated with unbelievable canny. I mean, just really amazing.
Stunning.
Smooth as glass and absolute perfection.
Without a hiccup.
The photo capture UI, that's the built-in UI for you to capture a photo in a line or two, and you're done. And don't forget that you have to ask permission first for both the webcam and the microphone in order to use it, and everything is great. But you also showed that if you don't like that full screen implementation, that full screen UI doesn't suit your needs for whatever, you can use the capture element as well. And the capture element then does require the developer to implement all of those extra features that come for free, but it does give you the flexibility to add it to your UI in a very smooth way, kind of like you did with that camera, so it looked like it was the preview for a camera. And then we just took a moment to look at the Facebook application, and not the Facebook application, but the Facebook SDK that became available yesterday that you can easily use in your application for free, so you don't have to handle authentication in your app, but you can still leverage all the stuff that Facebook will give back to you. Anything that the user will actually give you permission to have, you could keep going from there.
Exactly. I mean, you could then start
friends,
their photo albums,
post
and so
on their behalf. I hate the ones that ask to post on my behalf.
Yeah. Do you trust them?
I never say yes to them.
I know.
Never. Like, no
it's like,
way.
Oh no. That sounds far too risky.
Right. Well, let that be a lesson as well.
Exactly.
All right. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Come back in 10 minutes. Hit the next module together. Go get a drink. We'll see you soon.